She's an individual of high principles and has genuine compassion for others. She goes above and beyond to support and uplift those around her. She's a person of remarkable character who embodies qualities that make her an exceptional individual, both personally and professionally. I've had the privilege of knowing Talin Yacoubian for several years. Talin possesses unwavering integrity. She's hardworking, highly organized, reliable, and dedicated. Did you always know you wanted to become a lawyer?
I actually did. Ever since I was a child, I've always wanted to be a lawyer, which is a little bit strange because no one in my family and no one I knew was a lawyer. But it's always been in my memory ever since I can remember.
Talin, what do you think are some of the most important skills for the lawyers to have?
Well, there's a variety of skills that I think lawyers want to have, right? They want to be articulate, they want to be confident, they want to be good writers. Those are all skill sets that a good lawyer will master throughout their career. It doesn't start on day one. But I think that what will make a good lawyer is someone who also has compassion for their client, wants to see that there's no abuse of power. Really, that's the reason I wanted to, I think, become a lawyer. I had this inherent rejection for anyone who was abusing power. And I always wanted to protect the downtrodden or someone that I thought was being taken advantage of. I guess maybe an easier way of saying it is a sense of fairness.
And compassion is the key. I agree with you.
Yes. It's good to advocate, but it's also good to solve problems. It's also good to mediate. It's also good to resolve things. Not everyone needs to have their day in court. Actually, I don't know if you know this, but in California, for example, 97% of cases that get filed in court settle. Only 3% of cases go to trial. When I tell my students that fact, they are astonished. So eventually things resolve. The sooner you resolve it, the better off everyone is. And in order for that to happen, I think your lawyers have to have a sense of fairness and compassion.
I remember meeting Talin many years ago, and when she walks in the room, not only do you recognize her because of the way she dresses, she always looks absolutely phenomenal, and I always tell her, but also her strength and her confidence. We've worked quite a bit on the Armenian Museum, and her dedication to making sure that this museum is built and becomes a reality so that future generations best understand what the Armenian culture is all about and the history of the genocide so that we don't forget. I am so fortunate to not only call her a colleague, but also a friend, someone who makes me better at my job, really educating me on the needs of the diaspora, but also beyond the museum, just the community in general. Last year, I honored her during Armenian History Month, recognizing her contributions to the county and to the state, which are immeasurable. I am honored to be someone that is here to really recognize Talin for her selflessness. She puts the community first. We are all better because of her vision and her work and dedication and her resiliency. I always say the Armenians are resilient, and strength is something that they wear with pride. So when we recognize a genocide, we also, leading up to it, I'm proud to recognize Talin Yacoubian as one of my 5th District Armenian History Month honorees. Talin's impact on behalf of the Armenian community spans decades and reaches beyond borders. She embodies leadership, advocacy, and community engagement. As a longstanding member of the Armenian Assembly of America's National Board of Trustees, Talin has played a pivotal role in advancing Armenian advocacy efforts, fostering stronger Armenia-U.S. relations, and encouraging participation in the democratic process. Talin's leadership experience includes serving on the Armenian General Benevolent Union, where she chaired the Western District Committee, overseeing many chapters, schools, performing arts initiatives, scouts, and young professional organizations. She's also served as co-chair of the Armenian Genocide Centennial Commemorative Committee, where she orchestrated the peaceful march of 160,000 people in Los Angeles. In her current role as a co-treasurer on the Board of Trustees of the Armenian American Museum and Cultural Center, Talin is actively involved in promoting cultural understanding and appreciation by spotlighting the Armenian American experience. She also serves on the Armenia Fund Board, where she continues to be a driving force in shaping the future of the Armenian community.
What do you wish you knew earlier in your career?
Oh, Arshalus, that's a big question. I wish I knew that not everyone has all of the answers. You know, when you're starting out as a young lawyer, you look at the senior partners in your firm and you think that they know everything, the answer to every question. And you feel compelled to also need to know the answers to every question. And that's just, that's a goal that's not attainable. Now I know that if I don't know the answer, I can probably research, investigate, try to give the best answer that's available. And I think a lot of young lawyers don't know that. They think that they should know the answer because they went to law school and passed the bar. So I wish I knew that earlier because I think it would have saved me a lot of sleepless nights. So for anyone out there who's a young lawyer, it's okay not to know. The important thing is that they know how to find the best answer available. It may not be the perfect answer, but whatever is available.
What advice would you give to your clients or people out there?
Well, I've been practicing law for 31 years, and if there's one thing I can tell my clients, or I do tell my clients actually, but the people out there, would be don't sign anything before you read it, and more importantly, understand it. I see so many people just signing a contract, and then when something goes wrong, they're outraged that the other side is holding them accountable for certain things. But then when I look at the contract, they've agreed to that in the contract. So not signing something without understanding it, or not signing something, waiting to understand it, or asking for help to understand it is very important. There's an old saying, it says, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. It is so true. Just a few hours, even a phone call with a lawyer sometimes will save you hundreds of thousands of dollars in future litigation costs. And I have clients who actually are very good about that. They will not sign anything. Nothing. One of my clients, for example, won't even sign a home improvement contract, to have a plumber come and look at his sink without me looking at it. You don't have to go to extremes, but I think if you're signing something important, then it's worth, either if you're well-versed in the information, to look at it and make sure that you're okay with everything, or if you don't understand or have concerns about certain provisions, to ask a lawyer.
So don't rush into signing. Read first and, of course, understand. Yes. And take an advice of a professional.
Absolutely.
Talin Yacoubian. Each time I read the name of Talin Yacoubian, I remember the first time that I have met Talin here in the greater city of Los Angeles as the newly elected primate for the Western Diocese. I have met Talin on many occasions, and I also have had the opportunity to be working with Talin very closely. My first close acquaintance with Talin is related to the AGBU, Armenian General Benevolent Union, when she was called to be the chair for the West Coast Regional Committee. There I found that Talin is a very committed, visionary, dedicated, proud Armenian, a Christian, a daughter of the Armenian Apostolic Church, who loved her motherland, Armenia, who had the passion for the Mothership of Holy Echmiadzin, and certainly AGBU has been for Talin one of the most special and outstanding missions, which has helped her to dedicate herself for our nation's well-being. I have met Talin also when we were organizing the centenary commemorative celebrations. Since then, being part of the board, Talin has shown an exceptional leadership. During the meetings, through her analytical mind and thoughts, she certainly has contributed enormously. There, once again, I felt that Talin is a wonderful leader with a depth of vision and understanding how to serve, how much to give from her heart for a very special project, the Armenian American Museum, which to this day calls on us all to become engaged in this most God-pleasing mission. When I speak of Talin Yacoubian, I certainly thank God for having met a leader who knows how to inspire her colleagues, especially the young professionals. As a lawyer, as a devout member of the Armenian Apostolic Church, as a dedicated leader of AGBU, but above all, as a wife and dedicated mother and a dedicated member of the community, she certainly empowers all of us with her professionalism and no doubt with the love and the passion that she carries within her heart and soul for our nation, for the people of God, but above all, for our motherland, Armenia, and the Armenian Apostolic Church. I hope and pray that Talin Yacoubian and many young leaders like Talin will bring richness, spiritual richness to our nation's life. I wish her long and healthy life and much success, and the pride that she carries within her heart that should also be felt and seen and cherished by all young mothers, young leaders, dedicated leaders of our nation. God bless you, Talin. We have immense respect for you, for your wisdom, and for your vision. Amen.
Talin, what is the best thing about your job?
Just one thing?
Well, for now.
Let's see. The best thing about my job is that I get to learn about things, new things, all the time. It's never boring. I'm never bored at work. I get to learn about different industries that my clients are in. I get to learn about restaurants. I get to learn about coding. I get to learn about, electrical plants, cryptocurrency, just a variety, a huge variety of industries. And I personally really enjoy getting to know about different businesses and getting to learn about them and their, inside workings. So as a lawyer, I mean, we're practicing the law, but we're applying it to so many different professions that it is thoroughly entertaining all the time.
So it's a learning process.
Every day I learn something. I mean, I can honestly say that every day I learn something, learn about different industries that, you know, that most of the time really fascinate me. And I also learn about how other people do business. You know, also running a law firm is a business. So it's nice to have insight into different businesses just from their administrative, perspectives. So I really relish that, you know. I think I learn just as much, if not more, from my clients that, you know, they do from me. So it's really a mutually beneficial relationship on multiple levels.
On multiple levels. Even though I think I know the answer, but what are the most challenging aspects of your life? Of your professional life, that is.
Well, I mean, I think if you ask 100 lawyers, you're going to get a majority, a solid majority saying probably stress. Stress is a challenge in their jobs. And, you know, it's probably true for me too. We have, you know, as litigators, we have deadlines, we have court deadlines, we have opposing counsel, we have our clients, and managing expectations of so many different parties is very stressful. So I would say high expectations, a very results-oriented field, are, you know, fodder for a lot of stress. And managing stress, I think, is a very important part of what a lawyer who intends to stay sane should learn how to do. And obviously, you know, practice makes perfect. The longer I am in this field, the more techniques I learn for being able to manage stress.
How do you manage stress?
Well, it's an evolving process, but currently, how I manage it is I exercise every day, 7 days a week. So I think that has been very, very helpful for me because I find myself relaxing during that time and just my mind empties and I feel very, very good afterwards. And also it's doing different things. It's not, committing my entire day to work, but, having time even, in the middle of work or after work to do different things that are social, community work, social, time with family, time with parents, time with children, time with husband, whatever that may be.
But typical day starts with exercise.
Typical day starts with exercise, yes.
Healthy mind in a healthy
body.
So I first met Talin almost 30 years ago now. That's hard to believe. She and my wife were both working at a firm in Century City, and I came to know Talin and her husband Varouj through that relationship, and I would see them at firm events and things like that. Then our children ended up at the same elementary school, and I would see her more frequently, and we would socialize at outside events and through the school as well, and we got to know, my wife and I got to know them very, very well. At some point, Talin was running her own business, her own firm, and she needed assistance with a client she had on a kind of a unique issue, and she asked me to assist her. And we worked together on that case, and we realized that we worked very well together, and we complemented each other's strengths very well. And so a little while later, the opportunity arose for us to go into business together and start this firm, and we did that. And we've been kind of in lockstep ever since. We rarely disagree on anything about the operation of the firm or our clients, and I think we've been very successful because of that. When I think about Talin as an attorney, several things come to mind. First of all, she's very smart and creative, which you need to be a lawyer. But she's laser focused on the issues. She figures out what is wrong with the case or what the strengths and the weaknesses are and goes after those. She's very passionate. She's always advocating for our clients the very best she can. And she has good people skills and what we call client control. The clients listen to her. And so that helps us to get to the successful results that we need as a firm. As a person, I know her to be kind and generous and loving to her family and a good friend and a loyal person. And I just really admire her for all of those qualities. Her work with the Armenian community is really, really important to her. And I'm impressed by the leadership role that she's taken over the years and how she's expanded instead of shrinking from it. She's really wanted to make a difference, and I think that she has. I'm not Armenian, but I've learned a lot about Armenian culture and history through her, and so I appreciate everything she's doing for the Armenian community. And then she's also taken on a role as a professor at USC in the law school, teaching law students and kind of training the next generation of lawyers. And we need good lawyers around here. So I'm happy that she's doing that, and I know she's doing a great job.
Talin, as a professor at USC Law, what advice would you give to college students or high school students who intend to go into law?
Who intend to go to law school? Actually, both of my children are in law school, so I have been giving a lot of advice. But I think for the younger, let's take the high schoolers. For the high schoolers, I would say pay attention to grammar. Whenever you're learning grammar, pay attention. I think that a solid knowledge of grammar is very important to be able to do well in law school. The other thing I would say is take every opportunity to do public speaking. A lot of students, even a lot of students on law school, still have some hesitation about public speaking in front of a group. Take every opportunity. There's a lot of opportunities in high school, a lot of opportunities in college to do public speaking. Volunteer. The first time is scary, the fifth time is scary, but with practice, that fear drops away, and then you may actually find yourself enjoying it.
It becomes a second nature.
Exactly.
Professor Yacoubian was one of my first professors at law school. She taught legal research and writing, which is a very critical class in law school, but it can sometimes be a little dry. But it was never dry in her classroom. She brought a lot of charisma and humor and theater to that class, and we all really fell in love with her. And it personally, for me, made me want to do the same thing that she does, which is civil litigation, partially because she just made it seem so thrilling and dynamic, and now that I've started my career, I agree that it is. She would come into class and tell us these ridiculous stories about crazy cases, and she was always rushing from court or going to court immediately after being in school with us, and she really looped us into her world and just made it seem so thrilling. And like I said, the law can be kind of dry sometimes, and having a professor that was so sort of effective and full of personality just made law school that first year such a joy. One thing about Professor Yacoubian that I really appreciated, and I think many of my classmates felt this way, was she had extremely high expectations for us. And so our writing throughout the year, not just me, but the other 10 or 12 people in that writing class, really skyrocketed in terms of the quality of our research and writing. She always had really specific and constructive feedback, and she always made us feel like we could kick it up a notch, write a little bit more persuasively, a little bit more punchy in our language. And now that I'm doing law and practicing, I understand why that's such a critical skill, is being able to say something in a kind of argumentative and punchy way. And she was just super supportive of us in doing that. A couple of Professor Yacoubian's writing students, myself and a few others, were on Moot Court, which is sort of like a mock advocacy group at law school. And she was so proud of us. She always celebrated our successes. She wanted to hear all about how it went. She wanted to give us her strategic advice. And that type of engagement and confidence that she had in us really made us feel like we could rise to the occasion.
Talin, what are your long-term career goals?
That's a really good question. It's perfect timing. So I've recently started a mediation practice, and I don't know if you know or the audience out there knows that mediation isn't just for the legal community. Of course, that is going to be a big part of what I will be doing, and what I'm currently doing almost exclusively is mediating cases for different lawyers and trying to resolve them, and hopefully and have successfully resolved. But the deeper I get into the mediation field, I see such a value that a mediator, a neutral person, has in really resolving any kind of dispute between anyone. Just to give you an example, for example, family members. How many families do we know where one faction is not speaking to the other faction, or in-laws aren't speaking to the other?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yes, or brothers, sisters. I mean, there's just so many interfamilial disputes, and I think that introducing a neutral, maybe even someone who's familiar with the culture, values, traditions, etc., can bring those parties together, or at least start solving some of the problems. Different community organizations, different business partners. There's so much litigation happens between business partners. If you introduce a mediator into that process early on, before things get out of control, before people stop speaking to each other, you can solve that. And in my 30 plus years of practice, I think my practice, just even my advocacy practice, has changed, where I immediately almost, when I get a case, yes, I'm advocating for my client, but I also am advising my client that, let's try to see how we can solve this. Let's see, how the parties can come together. And I'll work with the other side's lawyers in order to come up with creative solutions. So I really think that this future of mediation is it's going to be a growing field, and I think that people should really consider using mediators, who now really almost exclusively are in the legal field, but I think in the non-legal field, I think a lot of people can benefit from it.
So whether it's on a professional level or personal level, a mediator makes a difference.
Yes, I mean, I don't know very much about it, but I do seem to remember, hearing, like, let's say, like back in the, 100 years ago, there were these like people, we'll call them mediators, who like in the village or something, they would be called when two factions were warring or, had a dispute. And they would, bring everyone together, and then, they were usually figures a little bit more authoritative figures.
Or well-respected.
Or well-respected figures. And they would bring people together, and they would identify a solution. So, it's almost like we're borrowing from our past experience. At some point along the line, this was let go, probably replaced with a court system. But I think that it's a very useful tool, and I do hope that I can contribute to this field in the non-legal setting as well. Of course, I am doing it, with my colleagues in the legal field professionally, but I hope that I can also be effective and helpful to community members.
I'm sure you will be. Thank you so much for this sit-down interview with your busy schedule. We had to make time, you had to make time, and it finally happened.
Yes, thank you as well, Arsha. Your questions were great, and it was really a pleasure speaking with you today.
Thank you.
Please welcome to the stage our Master of Ceremonies for the evening, Talin Yacoubian.
Good evening, wonderful supporters of our museum dream. Thank you all for coming tonight, and a special thank you for all the mothers amongst us today. Can we get a round of applause to the beautiful mothers in our audience? Thank you. Dear guests, we don't take your presence here lightly. As your MC, it's not only my privilege, but also my sheer delight to stand before you as we continue on this incredible journey together. Let's rewind the clock a bit, shall we? A decade ago, I shared a dream with a group of remarkable people. And guess what? Most of them are here tonight, probably regretting the day they said yes to this wild ride. But here we are. The brainchild started as scribbles on a legal pad at a Genocide Centennial Committee meeting in 2014, and led to rubbing elbows with the big shots at the state, the county, the city of Glendale, and navigating through more meetings than I care to count with architects, engineers, contractors, and of course, you, our rock star donors. It's been quite a ride. Together, let's keep fueling this dream and watching it blossom into something truly extraordinary, a beacon of inspiration for generations to come.
For advertising on Insight TV, please call 818-653-0199.